everyone. Welcome to today's Downtown Development Authority for June 12th, 2025. We're going to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. If we just want to start down with Al.
Ryan Retzlaff, present. Gabe Coleman, present.
Ryan Foster, present.
Lucas Diver, present. Then we are missing Jason Jindo currently. We have guests, well, not really guests, he's here every time, engineer Mark with us. And then is that Tom, I'm assuming? Awesome. And then Tom Anderson, he's going to present here in our old business for the Park Memorial. All right. The agenda, before we get into the agenda and start approving it, we are actually going to make an amendment to it. So we have A through E here, as you guys can see on your desktops, and then there's some in the back for our guests here if they need one. We have the agreement. It's not necessarily approved upon yet, but it's the agreement from our attorneys that is now sent to the Road Commission, and they are checking it out. So we are going to talk about this. I'm going to make a motion to amend the old business part of the agenda and between C and D. So after our Mannequin Smith update, we are going to add the agreement for lights. So I'm going to make a motion to add the agreement to talk about the lights here in the old business between C and D. Can I get a second on that, please? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved. With that, we'll do the approval of the agenda. With that adding it in, I'll make the motion to approve today's agenda for the June 12th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right, on to the minutes. Approval of the minutes of May 8th, 2025 meeting. I was able to read them over. I didn't see anything. Doesn't mean I didn't miss anything. Were you guys able to check them out? Did anybody make any grabs there? Everything good? Awesome. All right, I'll make the I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for May 8th, 2025 meeting. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right, the invoices. On to our invoices. First one we have here is invoice number 133681 for Progressive Sweeping for the dollar amount of $353.50. Looks like that's just our typical street sweeping that we have. And like we've talked about, that fuel recovery charge has stayed the same, so it's the same as it's been the last couple times. So I'll make the motion to approve the $353.50 going to Progressive Sweeping, ending in the invoice number in 681. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
We'll do voice approval. Al?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. Gabe? Yes. Ryan? Lucas? Yes.
Aye.
Phil? Yes.
Yes.
All right, so moved.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Jason has made it today. Jason, we are on invoice B. Invoice B for just starting it. I haven't even read it off yet. Okay. So invoice B to Mannequin Smith Group for the dollar amount of $2,620.45, and that invoice number is 132893. Mark, I haven't looked at this one yet, but let me see here. Looks like that's just engineering fees, correct? And then there's something at the bottom here. I'll let you explain it. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This invoice covers the costs associated with packaging and updating the signal plans
per the final Monroe County Road Commission requests. We needed to update a few dates in the bid documents, and there was a few edits that they wanted on the signal plans themselves, and then meeting attendance and general engineering support.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the invoice ending in 893 for Manikin Smith Group for $2,620.45. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All right, we'll go voice approval. Al?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. Gabe? Yes. Brian?
Yes.
Lucas, yes?
Yes.
Joyce?
Yes.
Jason, yes. All right, so moved. George Wellings, $135. The invoice is for, it's actually the date of the end of the month, it looks like. So 05/31/2025. This is our typical fee for being able to broadcast the meeting here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion for the $135 to be approved to George Wellings for the invoice ending in 12025.
Second.
All right, voice approval. Al?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Gabe? Brian?
Yes.
Lucas, yes.
Bill? Yes.
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 All right, so moved. Perfect. All right, on to the old business. We would like to welcome Tom Anderson. He's going to come up and talk to us about our park memorial, Linda Flick Memorial, kind of what we're going to do there. So, the floor is yours, Tom. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me and presenting the products that we make. A little bit of our company, we are a family-owned company. It's my wife, myself, my wife, and my stepson. What we do is we make, basically, for lack of better terms, concrete signage. And they're all handmade, no molds, no forms. So each one is individually, and each one can be customized to what your needs is. So our product is, for lack of better terms, is concrete, but we are a franchise, and the franchise corporate provides us with special materials put into it, and what makes us different is our product is basically waterproof. So typical concrete over time absorbs water, in our winters freezes and cracks and deteriorates. Well, the way our stuff is made with the materials, it is waterproof. It will not absorb water. So it is basically a lifetime product. So that's what makes us different. So for signage, which it's a great idea, one, it's very affordable, and two, it lasts. It doesn't fade, it doesn't, deteriorate, and for most parts, it doesn't have to be, replaced. The company has been in business for, or the corporate franchise, over 20 plus years. There's 100 franchises across the country, from Texas to Minnesota to Western Canada to Toronto, northern Minnesota, so in areas a lot harsher environment than what ours is. So it's a proven product. It was developed in central Illinois, and the new owner moved it to Texas, out of Waco, Texas. So Al saw me at a home show and took an interest in the product, and I've sent Al a couple proofs about some other projects that he's involved in. I haven't done any proofs yet of the park memorial because I really didn't know what direction, what you're really looking for in a memorial or signage, for that. So I haven't done anything. We have some samples that's sitting down outside the sheriff's office of what the product is and the variety of, what we can do. Most of our colors, we kind of stick to the grays or the earth tones, the browns. We can do custom colors, but with being handmade and not, even though we weigh everything out with the aggregate we use and whatnot, when somebody calls and says we want two signs identical, I says I can't do it. Because no matter how close we weigh everything out, just with the aggregate and the sand mixture we use, it always varies. So we can get close in the same way as the shape. Being we don't use any molds or forms, we hand carve them, so we get them as close as we can, but they're not identical. And so it's basically, I'm here to, You know, if anybody has ideas, I have pamphlets from our corporate office that shows a lot of examples of what we can do. Our corporate website has a photo gallery that a lot of our customers will go to and look at examples of what other franchises has done. And so, oh, I like that shape, I like that color, then we can, you know, copy it as close as we can. And so,
Question?
yeah.
When we talk about signage proper in terms of installation, are we talking ground, wall?
Freestanding.
Post.
It basically what I would call freestanding. It would set on a footer, and it's, you know, it's not attached to a wall. It's, you know, it's a freestanding. You know, I can give you, you know, I can pass out these brochures if you want, so everybody can kind of see them.
How tall is basically a footer?
We can, the biggest sign that has been produced so far is 14 feet tall, 40 foot long, 14 inches thick, and weight approximately 40,000 pounds.
Sounds like a good start. I guess I was told.
You know, like I said, they're all handmade. The biggest one to date I have made is 8 foot long, 6 foot high,
Oh, I see.
and it sits for a homeowners
Okay.
association. We do it for a subdivision,
Okay, so a little bit of everything.
and
While you're passing that out, Tom, quick question that came to my head is,
yeah.
say we do, you know, I think as a group we were kind of thinking of doing like a memorial, putting people that have been in this area, in the DDA, you know, so on and so forth, and kind of, you know, list their names on this.
Yeah.
So would you guys take care of if whatever one we pick, and if we want to add to it later on, is that something we call you up for? Or is that?
Yeah, there's a couple ways of doing it. One of the things Al said is doing something on the front of it, then doing the names on the backside.
Yep.
We can sandblast into at a later date, or we can actually do like a brass plaque and add, you know, to it, you know, as needed.
Okay.
You
Yep.
know, so there's a couple different ways we can go about it. You know, there's a couple companies we work with that produce brass plaques, you know, that look really nice. You know, it's, you know, I think it's a cleaner to add at a later date because, you know, if sandblasting, we have to bring equipment out, you know, then we have the, you know, basically the mess and doing it, you know, where I think, you know, adding to it, we can make everything, you know, resemble each other a lot closer than coming in and cutting a stencil. Because the process is we'd have to cut a stencil. We would keep the font and everything on file. We'd cut a stencil. We have to come out. We apply the stencil. Then we sandblast it. Then paint it. Then reseal it. And
Right.
you know, so there's multiple steps where if you know, if we did like a brass plaque, we could order the plaque, you know, same size, same, you know, font, then we can just duplicate that
Right.
as needed.
Right.
And that's something that, you know, drilling and hearing it, you know, maintenance department can do it, or we can come out and do it, either way.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool. Al, do you have anything that you want to, I know you've been kind of heading this project, we'll call it here. So do you have anything you want to like throw in off of he said, and then we can kind of meet halfway as a group?
I want to start like, how much less are you than like granite? Would you think?
Well, a good example, I've never personally priced granite, but the bench that's downstairs, sitting out there, it's our typical standard size 18-inch by 48-inch. We sell that bench with the engraving for $600.
Oh,
That's pretty.
I've been told granite is, you start at 4,000
right.
and up from there. So,
So that's big time.
Oh, it's huge. As I
That's
said,
big.
we
Yeah.
could do something with a product like this.
yeah, and we make everything right in Adrian. We're located, we work out of our farm in Adrian, and we make everything right there. It's not something that we bring in. We don't have to wait. Our turnaround is a lot quicker, you know, and because it's just a matter of getting it in production, we make it, and deliver it, you know.
For something like this, for like the idea that we have as a group here, what would you recommend is the best, I guess, design, or is there 50 of them that you're like, they're all going to work great?
There's it's endless. You know, our imagination is our limitation. I kind of like to say,
I like that.
because it's, you know, personally, I get locked into, because I do this every day. I do this. I have a problem with it, and I got to get out of it. Is, you know, I send out a proof. I go to my proof file. I grab the stone, and I use this stone all the time. You know, so I try to, because, you know, when I, you know, meet somebody at a home show or potential customer, we kind of talk. I hand them a brochure, and I says, "What catches your eye?" It's not what I like. It's what you guys like.
Right.
We've made stones that I wouldn't have in my yard. People love them, you know. So it's, you know, which is, you know, true with everything. That you know. So it's a matter of, you know, coming together as a group, and do we want to do something, you know, like, you know, on the second page right in the center, it's a couple columns with a bridge across this, you know, the boulder across the sign middle, you know, is, you know, just, that's what I struggle with, is what do I present? And, you know, I kind of had a little direction for the sheriff's department and veterans memorials. I kind of had ideas on that, but for a park memorial, I'm kind of drawing a blank, to be all honest, you know.
I got a question for the way the park is and its location. It's near Kroger and everything, near a main drag. I don't know. I would worry a little bit about something in the ground that they could knock over or something of that nature.
You mean like a car coming off track, like going in the park?
Cars or kids or anybody.
Which I think those things, like a kid couldn't mess with that.
No,
Right? It's too heavy.
No, not one of those.
Right.
But again, how many are we going to do?
Well, I think, and I don't know if you guys are thinking this, do a bigger one. And for now, it's going to look, you know, we're going to have a couple names on it, right? Like 3 or 4, whatever we decide, and then,
So this is something huge that we have.
yeah, like something maybe along the lines of like, you know, one of these things. These.
If you look at, go to page 2, you see that one like where it says McGregor, and I'm not so sure that's exactly the shape, but I think if we took something like that and we carve out a piece of that park and put that ledge rock around it,
Oh yeah.
kind of define it.
Okay, define it.
Yeah, and then have it in one of those areas. That's what I kind of envision that.
I get that. I was thinking too, like not even cutting it out. So I like that idea better for mowing purposes. And
Mowing purposes, keeping people kind of, you want them to see it, but they don't need to go up and touch it, right?
Correct.
This is
Right.
like a,
Well, anything that we do would have to be on a footer.
Right.
We would have to pour a footer. Then what we do for your, you know, the security of it tipping over is when the footer is poured, we pour a recess in it. Then when we set the boulder, we pin it to the footer. Then that recess we fill with epoxy that has like a 17,000 PSI strength. So the boulder is going to break before it comes loose from the footer.
Right. Okay.
So something in the bigger we get, the thicker we get, just for the stability of it.
Makes sense.
So, like this one I made was, 8 foot long, 6 foot tall, was 10 inches thick, weighed about 4,000 pounds.
Right. That's not going.
And it was recessed and pinned, and it's not going anywhere. And on the second page, you can see the top left-hand corner, the Texas Farm Bureau one. That's that one that's 12 foot tall. You can see a person standing next to it,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
just to give a size.
Short guy.
Yeah, that's corporate Texas Farm Bureau, and our corporate office did that. They're just outside Waco, and I think there's a total of 12 boulders. They did all the signage, directional signs, and different buildings. It's a whole campus.
Wow.
So,
And I don't know about you guys, but after like Al kind of said that piece of, cutting it out of the park and making it look kind of decorative with like, mulch or stone around it. Look at that Lakeview Park one. I don't know what our electricity situation is out at the park, but if we could get a light on it too, there's a light in front of that, that would be kind of cool. Cut it out, make it look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could figure that out as well. So, Tom, what's our next steps with you? Do we need to, as a group, kind of come up with a design and let you know?
Yeah, just a shape and a color and what you want on it. The backside is going to be the plaques, for the individual people. The front side, I just need verbiage, to put on it. Then what I can do, I'll just kind of show you. This is kind of what we kind of pass this along. This is a proof that we produce that gives you what a older, potentially could look like. That's computer generated, so shapes, we hand carve them, so it's going to be
Work in your garden,
a
right?
little, it's a representation of what it would look like.
Right, okay.
It's not going to be exact, just because,
36 by 72.
Yeah, the way the stone lays, the way the...
Yeah.
yeah. That one has the bench worked into the side of it. It's got the tall vertical piece, to put wording on it. Then it's got a bench right beside it that you can set on. So
Yeah, I like that color. I think that color, or like one of the, I guess, earth tones, like browny ones.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but with the brick that's in the park and stuff, I feel like that would look pretty nice.
And that kind of
That'd look-
matches your hair, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That's why I like it. Yeah, that's why I like it.
I don't know what it would look like, but could we potentially get like the shape of the DDA or the shape of Bedford Township somehow?
like your logo put on it, yeah.
Whether it's engraved on it or the
Oh.
stone itself is.
I don't know, on the bottom of that proof for the sheriffs, didn't I do the Bedford Township on the bottom of that proof?
Yeah.
I don't know that people would recognize the shape of the DDA, but
Right. If we did like the township
Yeah.
seal or something, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
That'd be best.
With like someone creative would have to come up with a saying, something in loving memory, because you just don't, I don't know if you want to just put in loving memory of, these people, and then there's the plaques, or if you want to put a big, decent description in there, nice description, and then on the back side have the,
Something like dedicated to the people that helped the township grow, or something,
yeah. Where
We
you
also
say,
do
Ryan?
maybe like the map of Michigan with a big star down by where.
Oh, yeah, like do one of these things, yep. Yep, that would be cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go down to the Michigan one, downstairs, you put a star like where Bedford is.
Oh, that's cool.
Not really. It was supposed to be where Adrian was, but my stepson, we got our signals crossed, and it's probably more where Flint.
It's close.
Close enough.
But we put a star in there, to highlight, the
Yeah.
location.
Okay.
So it's being we hand make everything, we can do pretty much
Whatever you want.
anything.
Yeah.
One thing with the logos is we do cut it out on a stencil, and I have had a couple issues of logos that were provided to me not working in our stencil cutter. And I've had to send a couple to corporate, and they've been able to fix them to where it would work, but depending on what program was used to make them, if we can get it in a PNG or SVG file or something like that, generally we can make them work, but every once in a while I get one. So if you have a logo that you want to use, like the one on this proof here, I just went to your website, copied it off the website, and it works on the proof. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on my stencil cutter. So
Right.
anything that would special like that other than verbiage, I have to put it on my stencil cutter, make sure it works, then work with your IT person or whoever, graphics person, to get a copy that would work.
Okay.
So we're really kind of open to anything.
There's very few things you can't do. We'll put it that way,
Yeah.
right? Like very few things you can't get
And
to.
there's a lot of times I I tell you, let me try it first.
Right. Right.
I'll make a smaller sample example of it, to make sure we can,
Make changes and all that.
yeah, and say, hey, this doesn't quite work, with the way we do it, but, let me make a smaller sample of it and try.
Right.
Makes sense.
Okay. Cool.
We might want to be mindful of the fact that while certainly we're working on behalf of Bedford Township, we are actually authorized under state law, and we are not technically part of the township government per se.
Right.
Yeah,
We're
but-
with the
Kind of our
logo. You're
own-
saying.
What if we
Right.
had, we had the state of Michigan on there?
Right.
Right.
Cover
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah. Like putting this
And
wherever that.
star, yeah.
Wherever
That
the
would do
example
it.
was. Yeah.
Or making the whole thing of the shape of the shape or something.
Right. Yep, we could do that. Cool. All right, Tom.
So we're, I just need to, kind of a direction to, go in, like I said, if you get together and you kind of pick out, and proof takes me about 10 minutes to do. So if you have a couple different shapes you want to see and what you want on it, then, I can do a couple proofs to, make, so you can see the difference.
So do we have an idea of what we're going for?
I think that's what we have to talk about as a group now.
Yeah.
Like which one we kind of want, what we want to say.
So do we want to, we'll start, do we want a bench kind of format, or do we want more of like a boulder format?
I personally say like boulder format, just because with the plaques, I just think.
Right.
And like we're talking about, a bench almost invites people to sit down.
You're right.
And we don't want them to necessarily sit down on it, So like,
So we'll stick with the boulder for now, and then what are we going to decide, colors and size, or?
And what we're
Yeah,
saying on
And what you're saying on it. And a lot of times, what you want to say on it dictates the size.
okay. That makes
So, depending on what you want it to say and how far, do you want to be away from it and be able to read it? Do you want to stay in the center of the park and be able to read the sign? We may have to go, because I can do letters as small as an inch, all the way up to, any size.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of sizing and making sure everything looks proportioned.
So I think by next meeting, we come up with some ideas,
Yeah.
and bring them to the next meeting so we can finalize this.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and then we can, then we'll have, we'll finalize ours. We'll have Al send our final copy or what we think we want to Tom. Tom will then get us back a thing, and then by that following meeting, we can say yes or no, let's go.
Yeah. And I can come up with some costs, because, cost is all how much material we have in it.
Right.
But in general, this will be a memorial, correct? And then we're gonna add additional names to it later. And then we just need something in general, memorializing, members of the DDA. right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by next meeting, everybody come with ideas for that, you guys think?
Yeah, and I think everybody should, on your own time, go over to the park, get some ideas.
Yeah.
See what you're thinking.
Maybe more for what we're putting on the memorial, and then you can size that out and give us options, and we can finalize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been over to the park a couple times, and, Al and I have talked about, where, he thought it should go. I really wish that wind turbine wasn't there, because I think right at the end of that sidewalk would be.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
Would be perfect, but,
Powering Kroger, though.
yeah. It's a topic of another discussion, but.
Last question I just thought of, because we
Yeah.
start, and we talked about it, but the plaque, say, going on, how much does that cost? Or does that like a year by year thing?
The plaque, if we did a brass plaque, we would have to contact, like Fast Signs or somebody, that, I don't do brass myself, but, I certainly can source it for you. And it really comes down to size, and do you want, a raised lettering, recessed lettering?
Okay.
Do you want, 8 by 12 plaque? It's all based on how much lettering
Right, because just for us, the reason why I asked is this isn't like a one-time thing. You know, it's we're going to start it, and then years from now we might add a couple more names, and then
Right.
you know, so on. So I just wanted to.
And I can't imagine, you know, if do like a, you know, 6x10 or something like that, it's not going to cost, you know, maybe $150, $200.
Yeah, that's what I was
Just a ballpark.
Yep,
You know,
that's perfect. That's perfect.
And it's just a matter, you know, come with 4 holes in it, and it's just a matter of marking the holes and, you know, putting the inserts in and screwing it to the back of the boulder.
Perfect. Easy enough. Well, thanks for stopping by today. We appreciate
Thanks for
it.
coming out.
Yeah,
this-
no, I
this
appreciate
gave
you
us-
having me, and because it's, you know, Al asked, and I says, let me bring you some samples to look at. Because it is a different product. There's only 2 franchises in Michigan, myself and one over in West Michigan. So it's virtually an unknown product.
Right. Yeah.
But we've been really excited. We've been doing this 2 years now, and it's really starting to kick in, and we're probably 6 to 8 weeks behind right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
I understand that you are doing something for the sheriff's department?
well, we have a proposal.
Okay.
You know, that proof I sent around was one that I give. Al is basically my contact, and we're
Working on that.
working on it. And we're also looking at one for the veterans to replace the one between the flags. But that's all, it's all in the works,
Perfect.
so. And,
Thanks.
you know, if you get something put together, give it to Al. Al will forward it, and I'll put a proof together, send it back to Al, and then.
Yeah, our next meeting is July 10th. So hopefully by
Yeah,
July 10th you have something from us over there within the next couple days after that we, you know, we'll get you.
Okay.
Hey, this is what we are kind of thinking, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear from there. You know, see where that leads us.
okay. Sounds
Awesome.
great.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate you, man. Nice to meet you.
Yep. I'm gonna load up those.
That's fine.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? I think Ryan's idea, though, on that, like the state and the star, that covers everything.
Right. If you,
It covers local, that covers anybody talking about anything about the state and all that. Something like that, which is Michigan generic, you know?
right. And it would just kind of look cool. You know, like in the park.
No,
I mean,
that's
DDA involved or not,
Yeah.
it just looks cool.
It
You know.
does.
Yeah. So everybody, I know Al's been kind of heading this for, but let's do everybody think of either, you know, look at this brochure and go, you know, maybe do your top 3, top 2, maybe of which ones you like, and then like you could do, if we're talking Lakeview Park, you're like, okay, I like that shape maybe or that size, but I think I like it in the McGregor color. You know, maybe like take a few notes on that.
Right.
And then maybe think of something to jot down, because if we all jot something down, we all come to next meeting with it, between the 7, 8 of us, whatever, we can probably think of something that's going to be pretty good. You know,
Well, and
like,
we can come up with a design, as I said, we could have him carve something that looks like the state of Michigan.
yeah, right.
I mean, so it doesn't have to be one of these.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, he can do anything we want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, are we all in agreement then on the state of Michigan? Is that a good thing?
A different point would be, if you're going to put the plaques on the back, you want to have maximum room too.
Right.
Yeah, how
Would
they
say
fit.
that you might integrate a state of Michigan in the stone as opposed to that shape.
Right.
Because you can get a lot more bang for your buck that way.
That's
But
true. If you
I
start
don't-
putting plaques
I'm
like
not
this,
putting down
No,
one
I'm
or
just-
the- I'm just,
if you start putting plaques, they might, you know, that you might not be able to get one in the thumb. Like the plaque, you know, might not fit.
Or something square with it
Right.
just
They-
carved
I
in.
think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ryan. I think more importantly, we just need to figure out what's going on it, because the way he explained it is you guys tell me what you want on there, and I'll kind of size it out for you.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yep.
So is this strictly a memorial sort of thing, and are we saying it's a memorial on the face of it?
See, that's what we have to decide.
You
Because
could say honoring, that way it doesn't have to
Right.
necessarily be
those who have served,
memorial or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
because somebody could go, like Joyce, I necessarily wouldn't want to be celebrating your passing away, right? But I mean, hopefully it's 100.
Yeah,
But you have served a very
reports
long.
of my death are greatly exaggerated.
Right. But for example, you know, you were like here from almost day one on the DDA,
Well, it was
correct?
before day one, yeah.
Yeah. But
We wrote the thing to form the DDA, you know.
But
the
you've
plan
been,
and
but
the-
you've been involved with this for so long. In my mind, it should be an honor to say, hey, these are people that have served or their terms have ended, you know, or like Linda, she may have passed away, but she served, right? Obviously, your name should be on there because you're still serving, but yet you were like one of the founders. You know what I mean? So I guess that's my vision. I don't want to just connotate it that, oh, geez, you got to pass away to get your name on the stone.
Right, right, yeah, agreed.
Like Paul Taylor, who served as chair of this for decades.
Yeah, for how long? You know, so I think,
Right, I think it's something more like honoring instead of memorial.
right,
Absolutely.
exactly.
More appropriate for this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the part we should come up with, the honoring and how we want to word that.
Right.
Then putting the people's name on there and how, you know, they serve the community maybe.
Right,
You know?
yep.
Exactly.
How far back do we go? And today,
Go to the
one,
start of
and
the
does
DDA, really.
everybody,
Start of the DDA.
you were on the DDA at any point in time?
It's just like if you,
Or you
how
serve
did
your
contribute?
term,
I'm
at
sure
least
there's
one
people that have
term.
sat on this board that have contributed more than others that, you know, have gotten more done.
Right.
You know,
I
should
think-
be
Yeah.
memorialized for it, not memorialized, but honored for it.
I think Joyce would be able to help us out because there's some people, let's be realistic, if you came on the DDA, some people have only served 6 months and they might have had to leave for certain reasons or they moved or whatever.
Right.
I don't think everybody's name should be on there, you know, so.
Right. Yeah, that's where we would have to go through the list and just, you know, make an agreement on
Right.
how many we're going to start with. Like, for example, do we put, we planted the tree.
Lane.
Lane, yeah. Like, do we put Lane on there because we already have the kind of the tree for him too? Like, do we do that? You know, like that type of thing. So,
I think, you know, people here can brainstorm on who they want to be on that memorial, and then we'll just bring it to a vote.
yeah, I agree. I say everybody, like, take 10, 15 minutes if you have some in the next month and just, you know, type out a paragraph maybe of what you think it should say. We'll bring them to the next meeting, and we might take a sentence from mine, sentence from Joyce, you know, here and there, and just start piecing it together.
Also, who you think should be on it and why.
Right. Yes. Yep. And then we can do it from there. So that
I
works.
almost think we
Take a
should
vote on
come
it.
up with more hard and fast, like 3 terms.
Yeah, you're
Like that.
you're right. We need some qualifiers.
Yeah. Right.
Agree.
Yep. Okay.
Gabe's got a good idea.
Yep. I like that.
does Trudy have all the lists? I mean, you know.
I would think so. She keeps everything, so my
Yeah.
gut feeling is she's probably got them somewhere.
Because I've got old minutes and everything that Paul Taylor gave me, but I don't really want to
Right.
go through those to try to enumerate
Because
who's who.
yeah, we have to, let's talk to Trudy and see if we can, 'cause there were some really long serving members, like Jerry Goodrich was on there for quite a while. There's quite a few.
Yep. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Come and even, you know, like, you know, think of the people, think of the term that we want to put on there, and I guess the color, because after that we'll figure out the size as a group or the shape, size, whatever as a group. We'll kind of go from there. So.
And IAD Insurance can give us the kickoff party, right?
Deal. Yep, sounds
That's
good
what I
to me. Yeah, I'm in for that. I just got to walk across the park there. We're good.
There we go.
There we go. Awesome. All right, so just make sure you do that by next meeting. What are we putting on? Language. Perfect. All right, on to old business, letter B. So I always put update on the traffic light agreement, and this is, I want to kind of explain myself on why I do this. I always do that just because we're going to talk about the update. The reason why I added the agreement for the lights is because, in the beginning of this meeting, is because we actually do have the agreement in here. So I didn't want you guys to show up thinking like, oh, it's just another update. But we actually do have some stuff here. So what we'll do is update on the traffic light agreement. I'll just let everybody read through this for 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it takes. Let me know when you're good. Mark, we'll start you next up after we all read it as the Mannequin Smith update, and then after that, you can kind of stay up there and we'll go into the agreement, if that's cool with you. Awesome. Give me like a look or a thumbs up once you've kind of, I don't want to like cut people off, but kind of give me a.
I'm good.
All right, we will move on to the Mannequin Smith update, and like we said, we'll.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So it reads in here that the Monroe County Road Commission will own and take over control for maintaining the traffic lights. So what happens if we pay for this, and five years down the road the Road Commission says those lights are no longer needed anymore? Can they just take them out without any feedback from us or the township at that point?
Mark, I don't know that answer, to be 100% honest with you. Do you know?
It's definitely not in this contract, but if that were it. But
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that one. Obviously, the traffic signal is able to be installed because it met certain warrants. You know, there are things that, traffic volumes, crash history, different things that warrant installing a signal. I can't imagine that we would go backwards with those warrants to where it's no longer warranted, but I don't know the process of decommissioning signals.
I think if it's not warranted, they just change it to a flashing yellow, don't they?
That
Could.
would certainly be an option, yeah.
I think about like where is it, Douglas and Dean. That's been a light back to signs, a light back to signs,
Right.
light again. I think.
Yeah.
So I just kind of I don't. If we're going to pump out this kind of cash to pay for this project, I don't want to see it disappear in 5 years with the Road Commission saying not needed anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's a good. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It
Let's
says that we're gonna put aside funds, for the maintenance. It doesn't have a number on that. And that, are we putting aside excess funds in case the DDA ever isn't around, so that way you'll
Yeah,
have that.
What's going to happen, I had a discussion with Phil, if I can kind of bring you up to date a little bit. First of all, this is going to hinge on Monroe County Road Commission accepting this agreement.
Right.
And it's going to hinge on the Board of Trustees to accept this agreement. I will tell you this, is that the Board of Trustees, on some of this, it's already going to be changed, not a whole lot, but we are not going to guarantee this from our general fund. Okay? I almost virtually will tell you that they would not want that obligation. Okay? So with your question, Jason, what would happen, and we did talk to the bond council and so on, a restricted fund has to be set up that nobody can touch except for the road commission to use. Okay? So let's say, for example, you know, we have to talk to the road commission to say what is acceptable to fund that account. Is that $5,000 a year? Is that $10,000 a year? You know what I mean? For maintenance and so on. So let's say the DDA dissolves. You're not around. That fund would be restricted so that Bedford Township would not get stuck with the maintenance.
Right.
Because it keeps emphasizing that it has to be pulled out of, incremental.
Right, through the revenue, through the
Like, if we
DDA.
go away, I guess we still collect those funds. So
Right.
those we would allocate, whatever we've been allocating would continue going into that fund?
Yep, from as long as the tax increment is there, that would continue on.
Okay.
And then this way they'd have enough money to.
And are we close on agreeing with this?
Phil is going to be talking to the road commission and to their attorney as well.
I know they've been going back and forth.
Yeah, so
Well, we got,
How do they?
This is, I can tell you this, okay, there's probably a few minor changes, but this is probably it.
Okay.
If we can't agree on this, or the road commission, or whatever, I don't know how farther you go.
right.
I've got to point out something here. If you look at the paragraph, about 3/4 of the way down, now therefore it is agreed. Listen to what it says.
Alone.
The road commission will own and take over control for maintaining the traffic signals and pedestrian signals of, at Hollow Drive and Secor, and shall assume all liability associated with or arising from its ownership, control, and maintenance of the subject traffic signals and pedestrian signals subject to government immunity. So
I believe what they're referring to, Joyce, if the DDA isn't around.
I think that just speaks to indemnifying.
They'll technically own it, but we're going to maintain it.
Yeah, I think that's
That's what-
indemnification. That's
Right.
saying that if there's a liability claim, that the road commission assumes that it would not be the responsibility of the DDA.
We're going to give it to them, but we're going to maintain it.
Because, Joyce, I think the next paragraph where it says it is further agreed,
yes, I understand that, but it doesn't,
that I think I don't want to say overpowers that, but kind of says okay, now it is agreed that exactly what you just said.
right.
But it is further agreed that if the DDA is basically still there, they're the ones that have to do. I think it's kind of like a.
No, what I'm reading.
It's worded weird to me.
No, what
in
I'm-
that sense.
No, the reason
Yes.
it's worded that way is because it's going into an account that the road commission controls. So now
No.
they're assuming responsibility for maintenance as long as we keep funding that account. It's basically
Okay.
the way it reads.
We hold it,
As
they
you-
they
yeah,
control it
it's
up
just
saying,
odd
hey,
that it
I
says-
need this much
No, I
money
was
for
right with
maintenance,
you.
or I need this, or
Yeah.
I need
Right.
that.
Right. No,
Who
I
makes
agree
the
to-
determination
too.
of what goes into it?
That's us.
That'll be us in what the road commission, now we have to sit down and say, hey, what do you guys think, it's going to cost? So we need to start setting that aside every year.
That's
Well,
not
the only
enough.
reason why we're getting the the road commission involved was because, we could say 10,000, but we have no clue if that's even close to being correct. We need to know. Basically, why we're asking them is, what do you guys spend on average maintaining these things every year? Give us that number so that we can then pull that
You
aside.
did give us that number. It was $500 a month, if you remember, for
From the-
maintaining. So I'm
Right.
assuming
That
it's
traffic
gonna be-
light up in Monroe, they gave us,
Yeah, I'm assuming it's gonna be closer to like 1,000, just so they can keep some on the side in case or anything else happens. But typical maintenance, they said 500, wasn't it? Like 500 just to like
Something
go
like
clean,
that.
maintain, whatever.
All right.
So they really shouldn't be pulling out much, right? Am I right or wrong? Do you remember how much?
I don't remember that number, but it seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
You know, the other question we should ask is, say, okay, what does it cost to replace just the lights? What's the life of that light? Is that 10 years, 15 years?
I feel like that was brought up too at some point. It was like 20, 25 years. They said there was a light somewhere in the county, and I think that was said it was like 20 years old and it hadn't been replaced
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Expensive
I want to say
part
it
is
was in Monroe.
the pole. Yeah, that's the expensive part.
Has the road commission's attorney seen this version?
Yes. So we got it. Me, Al. Well, Phil sent it to us. It's me, Al, and then Dave Leach is his name, right? And then the other
Yeah,
Phil.
Dave Leach has got it. He's the head of the road commission.
Yeah. So
And has he had, do we know any objections to it, or?
we got it on like Tuesday at like 2 o'clock or whatever. So, or 10 o'clock, whatever time it was. That's why I had to put it in here because I've already sent the agenda for the DDA
Okay.
at that point, and then we got this. So it was kind of like a little too late on it.
Realistically, they shouldn't take long to review. We just did it in 5 minutes. So they should.
Yeah, but they're lawyers.
Yeah.
I know, but even with lawyers on a almost a one-page document, they should be able to do it in under an hour.
Yeah.
We agree with that, but.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
Mark, what's your update thoughts on it? What do you? I'll let you take the floor. We've talked enough. You go ahead.
I don't want to speak for yourself or Al, but I think it should be pretty amenable to the road commission because I think a lot of these provisions have been discussed over the past couple of years. So I think it should be, I would imagine, 95% of the way there. I would imagine they would only have verbiage changes, minor revisions, but the terms, the substance really shouldn't change.
I remember hearing this when Paul was around, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, here's my thought, and I talked to Lucas, is that we can have 3 meet with Phil after he talks or whatever they do with Dave Leach and so on. We should meet with Phil right away, 3 of us, kind of get the idea of, what it is. If there's something in there we need to head off, then we should call a special meeting, which wouldn't take long because a special meeting would only deal with this, and then we take it to the board.
Right.
Get it,
Yeah, this way we keep it moving.
Yeah.
We won't have that gap. I already talked to Phil, said, hey,
Can't do
we
that.
can have 3 meet with you, and Phil's like, hey, that's fine, so that we, if we have 3 of us that truly understand it, then we can do a special meeting and say, okay, here's where we're going,
Right.
and then move on. So,
Yeah.
because I'm sure everybody wants to put an end into this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
been going on forever.
Right.
So,
Yeah, like we said, the only other thing, Al, I want to bring up too, and maybe we talked about this, and maybe I'm way off, shouldn't it not say the Bedford Township? It should just say the Bedford Township DDA.
well, that's what's going to come up, because the township is not going to guarantee the construction or the costs of that.
If you look in the second paragraph, it is
Right.
already changed in the second paragraph where it takes out Bedford Township. It just has the DDA, so.
Right, it's like
got
down
other
far-
places that.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
gonna
that was
happen.
just
That's
skip.
gonna
Right, a couple
Okay.
others.
Get it, I'm sure.
That's the fine-tuned part.
Yeah. So now, we're getting somewhere because we have this agreement in our hands, but we still have to wait for the road commission. It's down to that. So
And have they given us a timetable on how long it's going to take them to review it?
They have not.
no.
Start asking them, for timetables when we give them stuff, just because, it's just.
Well, this is, no offense, it hasn't been the road commission's fault at this point. Like, we were waiting on to get it to them. It's probably been 48 hours since they've received it. Maybe a little bit more than 48 hours.
We'll definitely have an answer.
Yeah, I would say
hope
that's
so.
what we're,
Dave Leach is pretty good at getting things done. He's kind of to the point kind of guy.
That's
So,
the attorney for the road.
no, he's the head of the road commission.
her attorney's also named Phil. Correct, right, yeah, so it's Phil and Phil.
So he's pretty good at like.
Good
Phil.
name, good name.
Perfect. So do you have anything else to add, Mannequin Smith-wise, or anything else that you want to kind of go over regarding any of this here?
Just a reminder that the road commission's made it clear that they're not going to start packaging the project to put out for bid until all the agreements are in place, signed, sealed, and delivered by all parties. So this agreement is one element. There will also be a construction contract with the road commission that lays out an estimated cost and basically agrees the road commission is going to bid this out, and you will be liable for reimbursement to the contractor for that cost. And then there's a construction engineering and inspection aspect that would, again, be agreed upon by the DDA to basically back fund through the road commission.
Who writes that up?
Road commission is preparing both of those. They have their numbers for both of those elements right now, so.
That's what we kind of started to, was it last meeting or maybe the meeting before we agreed on to get that ball kind of rolling, just so we had it. So when they all come together, we can kind of go. We can take off with it. So
It'll be a juggling act between DDA board meetings, township board meetings, road commission board meetings, and having the signatures and the approvals go through that full cycle.
right. Perfect. So yeah, with that, do you have anything else to add Mannequin Smith wise for us, or?
Not right now, no.
Cool.
That's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate it, as always. All right, so we kind of knocked out C and D there, the Mannequin Smith and the agreement on the lights.
Yeah, you did.
We're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to go to our new E, which was the old D. We're going to talk about the Boo Bash, and I'll let Brian kind of take over on that.
Boo Bash.
So I just have like three quick things. The first thing is I did talk to Rachel. She's good to go to do it again. I need to make a formal motion that we agree to pay her $2,500. That's what we've done before. And then the budget would looking for $5,000. That's what we've done before.
So total
So 7,500. Yeah.
Okay.
So I need official approval for that.
All right. Do you want to make? You can make the motion.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we agree to pay Rachel the $2,500 for organizing the Boo Bash, and then expenses to go up to $5,000.
A second.
All right. Voice approval on this one. Al.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Gabe.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Lucas. Yes. Phil.
Yes.
Joyce.
Yes.
Yes.
Jason.
I'll
Yes.
also second it because I don't think we got a second on the motion.
Yeah. Al
We
did.
did, yeah.
Al
Oh, I
Yep,
didn't
sorry.
hear him. Okay.
Yep. All right. So we are approving 2,500 to Rachel, and then 5,000 for the event itself.
And then the last thing, I know when we were doing it last year, you guys had mentioned, so it's been 12 to 3 the last 2 years. And I think a couple of you guys have mentioned maybe shortening the actual trunk or treat to 2 o'clock because it kind of weaned down. I don't know if we want to do that. I don't know how much that affects because we still want to have the carriage rides and the food trucks. I don't know. I just kind of, anytime you do anything, it weans down, winds down at the end. So I don't know.
I think
I don't know if you guys
we
are
were
just
talking
tired.
about. No, we were talking about. I agree, but like maybe like you're saying, keeping those vendors open till 3. Trunks. Sorry, get closed down at 2 for a. Then we can vote as a group on the trunks. We can pass out whatever. Then we can go check it out. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you had a trunk, you really didn't get. I have yet to see a kid get their face painted yet. I have yet to see, whatever. And not that I need to see that, but it'd be nice to go walk around and see the event that we kind of put on. Especially, we all work on it, but just the people, Kroger comes and does one, a different bank comes and does one. They don't get to go see the event that we put on. They just, the people walk around, they pass out candy, and they get in their car and they leave.
So still have everything else, the DJ, everything else till 3 o'clock. Just maybe cut the
Like 2:30, we start shutting down.
Yeah, 2:30.
2:30.
See what
The other ones hang out.
we can let Rachel too, kind of make that.
You guys had brought it up, so I wanted to see.
Yeah, see what she thinks about it. If she says no, that's a terrible idea. Then she's been doing great at this event. We'll let her ride. We'll let it keep going.
I think it ultimately comes down to what football game is on that day too, right?
Yep.
I'm very excited that.
Yep. As always.
Just kidding.
As always.
Just kidding.
No, and all jokes aside, it does, I think, affect our attendance, though. If it's a noon game compared to a 7 o'clock game, I think dads are like, no, we're watching the game instead of going. So I agree. Cool. Yeah, if you want to get Rachel started up on that, then we're good to go. Anything else to add about Boo Bash? Good on that? Sweet. All right, last but not least here, we have the drone show update. I'm gonna let Jason kind of take over on this one. This one's he's heading up
Let me
over
pull
here.
it up. Sorry, I was looking at it
The
earlier.
drone man.
So it ranges. So I spoke to an agency that will basically source it out. It can range from $200 to $700 per drone. The drone sizes, they suggested 100 to 300 drones. So it ends up, and then not only that, but so they can cost up to $300 to $600 per drone, depending on what we want to do. We want to do 2D objects. We want to do 3D objects. Let me see what else goes into that. The duration matters, the location and logistics, extras if you need audio or licensed music or live performances. I'm sure we're not going to do that. But from what we're thinking, from 100 to 300 drones, it could range from $50,000 to $200,000. And I don't know if we really had the appetite for that.
You want to put it.
I think it kind of droned out.
It fell. Yeah, that drone fell.
So yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it as well. So I really didn't pursue it any further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, no offense to Jason, great job
No,
on looking
great
that
job.
up, you know. But I think, because you started with the fireworks, then you went to the drones, so you
Yeah.
put some work into it, but sorry, I think we're going to have to cut it out, right? Like, yeah, I think we're going to have to cut it out.
But you know, you could look at some other event, like you said. You could still do like an ice cream social in the DDA or whatever. It doesn't have to be super complicated. You know, next year, I've been approached by Bedford Business Association. We were going to be doing the Bedford Festival till COVID hit. Okay, that parade was going to originate like from the DDA and go all the way over to Parmalee and that kind of thing.
On what road?
They were going to go down Seacourt Road.
Seacourt?
Yeah, then they were going to cut up Monroe, then go to Parmalee.
Okay.
So they're just in the beginning stages. I had one meeting with them, and I said, well, you know, it can originate in the DDA, you know, in conjunction. I think they can pull it off. I think it would be good. So like next year, there could be something that we get involved with, starting in the DDA. You know, so just to kind of give you an update on that. They're just in July, they have a new board coming in. I met with Don Fritz, and he's going to be their new president, and he wants to bring this back. For those who didn't live in Bedford as kids, this was a big deal in Bedford at one time.
Well, it always went right past my property. We couldn't go anywhere, you know, so we just took
Right.
the chairs out and collected the candy that was thrown out.
And this community really, honestly, is starved for events or to do things. I can just tell you, our Blizzard Fest keeps growing over at Compelled Church in terms of what we're doing over there. People turn out, they have a great time, so, and we really don't have a lot of events.
I think
Yeah.
Boo Bash shows that too.
Right.
It just keeps growing.
People,
Right.
So, just to let you know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Keep you
point.
posted.
That's a good point. Cool. Anything else related to the old business here before we move on?
Yeah, what have we done, if anything, or have we decided to kind of walk away from it about the development of the Kroger Plaza? The issue that was brought up by Quimby's. But it also surfaced the issue that a lot of the places are vacant, and Kroger seems to have no interest in marketing them to get them filled.
Did we come to a conclusion on that?
We were supposed to have, what's his
TC
name?
Clement.
from Monroe
TC
County.
Clements was yeah. I've talked to TC. I talked to him at an event probably a month or two ago, and he had spoken about meeting with us. I have not followed up with him. He's not followed up with me, but I can definitely bring it back to his attention. I know his guy, the person that is the main economic bringing in business. He has an event that he does called Leadership Monroe. It's every Thursday. So, and it's during our time to meet here, so I know he can't meet with us, but I will reach back out to TC and see if he has any appetite in sitting down with us and
I
going.
have noticed, and what reminded me of it was on the kind of the monument-style sign that has the electronic thing. I did see Quimby's being advertised there on Stearns Road, and I don't know if that was always done or
I think
what, but it
Rich,
reminded me.
I think Rich did that. I don't want to say himself, but he like went above and beyond to get that. I think
He said he paid for the sign to be replaced, or,
Yes.
or not replaced, but fixed in order to have it be able to read things across
Correct.
it again.
Yep.
But the bigger really issue is if Kroger is not interested in filling, vacant stores and everything, we have an issue there.
I think it's not like they're not interested, they're just not pursuing it the way that they should. You know what I mean? I think they probably do have them listed, but they're just not filling those spaces for whatever reason. I think Rich was telling me that, but they're just not really marketing it correctly.
They're not, yeah.
It's not like their main goal, so I don't know. I don't know what the DDA could do about that, though.
But one of the things that, like I said, with the Monroe County Business Alliance, they work with businesses who are looking for, sometimes it's property, sometimes it's buildings, sometimes it's things like that. So I'll get with TC, we'll get him lined up for a meeting.
We'll find the customers, in other words. We'll help.
Correct,
find the
yeah, I mean, the Business Alliance will probably be the ones that are, they'll find the customers who may be able to going into those vacant storefronts.
And I think we did talk about also approaching them and seeing if they would want to sell it, and trying to get a different, landlord over there that might, pursue tenants a little bit more aggressively.
If you want to try to line TC, I know it's hard or whatever, but if we could see what we could do one time, then we can go back to that for sure. All right. Everybody good on the old business? Good. All right, let's move on. We'll let Phil do his financial update for us here.
Okay, just to go back a little bit to show you the kind of differentials from month to month, especially on our approvals. Like in April, it was 2,063.37. In May, we had $590.57. And now in June, we're back up to, got $3,108.95.
Sorry, Phil, what page are you on?
He's looking. He's
No,
like.
I'm
Making
sorry.
some
Okay,
comparisons.
I'm sure I follow you. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay. So, no, that's for invoices only. Okay. And then we can go through April last month, and we want to cover the R&E and also the capital plan. In April, the revenues and expenditures were set up at $565,198.25. In May now, which we're reporting obviously in June, just came in, is we're at 563, $563,330.95. So a drop, roughly a little less than $2,000. In the capital plan for April, we were at $1,361 and 0.62. And in May now we're at 1,364,027.51, which is a little raise, and I really don't know why. But anyway, we're up a little bit on the capital plan part.
Perfect.
Yeah, why didn't we have revenue? I'm sorry. Why did that revenue go up? Was it people that paid their tax bills late or something? Like, where did that revenue come from?
The revenue in the capital plan?
Yeah.
The only
one
thing
that
I
went
think
from-
they moved it down from somewhere, and
No, the 133, and then it went up to 1364.
yeah, that's what I just said. That's a capital plan.
Oh, that's just from our tax capture, correct? It just came in late or something?
I don't know. Before, as I said, it was 1361 in April, and I don't know if they made a change something up here and dropped it down, added into that. I can't answer that.
Maybe,
I just-
maybe
I
we
just-
get it when people pay their property tax.
Yeah. Yeah. And we just got these at 135 today.
Well,
So,
wait a
go
minute.
ahead.
When people pay their property tax, do we collect it, piecemeal like that, or?
No,
I don't think so. It's,
we get an allocation.
we get an allocation,
Yeah.
so that comes in, and did that come in? Al, do you know? You
I'd
can't
have to
tell
check with
from
Bob
this.
and see
Yeah.
if that is.
The property taxes came in last month.
But what I'm wondering is, do we get that, right,
It
without it
was.
being paid, it's probably when it's paid by the,
Yeah. Well, it was put in for the first time. The big number was last month, and they just added a little bit to it this month.
yeah.
And I truly don't know the reason for it.
I don't know, we'd have to ask him too,
Yeah.
there just might have been more taxes coming in too from projects.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Somebody did something or whatever, tax increases.
But that's basically negligible, at $3,000 for that whole thing.
Perfect.
Okay.
Alrighty. Sounds good. All right, on to the new business. Brainstorm ideas, as I always put on there. Unless you guys have anything really, really good that you can think of.
Well, all my comments are really, really good. No. Joyce, I don't know if they've ever done this, but I often thought, because there are quite a few businesses there. Has there ever been like a meeting of the business owners or like a reception or something to like meet at Quimby's? And, like for an hour or something, and say, hey, here's what the DDA does for you. Here's what we're trying to do. Get some of their ideas. Because I believe you're also allowed to do promotions, like shop the DDA, do this, do that. I don't know if anything's ever been done like that.
Jason,
No, I've never been approached, no.
The only thing I remember doing really with them is just when we passed out the pamphlets for like the survey. We never really got them in one room together and said, hey, this is what we do. We kind of just said, here, do our survey. So that wouldn't be a bad idea.
And I think you can spend the money on, doing like some kind of reception if you had hors d'oeuvres or something or whatever to get them in there. It doesn't have to be a super long meeting, but I think every so often you should get people in the room and say, hey, this is where this money's going. Here's what you're doing. What's your ideas? What would you like to see as a business owner?
what would they send? In theory, when they have the owners there as opposed to just a representative, right?
Well, they could send a representative.
We're gonna make decisions.
Well, yeah, manager, something like
Somebody,
that. Your
true.
whole neighborhood,
And really,
would be there.
Realistically, we should encourage them coming to these meetings as well.
Oh, exactly. So I don't know. That could be, it could be outdoor. It could be, you could do hot dogs and hamburgers or something. I mean,
Well, I was like, Rich has that room on Quimby.
Right.
That's like if you guys don't mind, I'll reach out to him and see if we could use that. How much would he charge us? Would he come? That type of thing. Would he be interested in it? So, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And we could do it from 4 to 5 o'clock one day.
Yeah.
5 to 6 o'clock. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, but just
No.
like a
Right.
quick little thing. They
Hit
have
and
some
miss.
food and call it
Yeah.
good.
Because I know the Alliance, what time do they start their meeting? I mean, they had a good turnout, but
They had a great
get them
turnout.
going pretty quick.
Yep.
So that you can, like if you're off work, boom, you hit that meeting, you still get home at a decent time.
Yeah, I think it was
Right.
5. It might have been 5 to 7 or
Yeah.
something
Yeah, that's
like
perfect.
that. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Rich probably in the next day or two and see what he says, and I'll bring that to the next meeting here. Alrighty. Other than that, the next thing we have is comments from the public, and we don't have any public today. So,
That's
comments from the board. Any comments from you guys over here? All right, I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting. The next meeting is July 10th, 2025. Can I have a second on that, please?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. So moved. See y'all next meeting.